Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
It's a Monday, and the word on the street is this is our only episode this week. Is that true?
Factoid. That is a fact. We got a lot. We got moving and shaking going on. We're
there's a lot of stuff.
I
You know what I should have done, Dallas? And I apologize. I fucking apologize.
What?
Okay.
Is this fucking?
I apologize.
Is that two? That's two. Damn, son.
Listen, I am nothing if not accountable. Here's what I should have done. I got some good news for you guys, and I got some bad news for you guys. The bad news is there's only one episode this week. Mm-hmm. The good news is it's because Dallas will be hard at work creating some new and unique baseball content for you people, unlike anything that we as a brand have brought to you before.
That's it.
So that there's good news and there's bad news. So yeah, at the end of the day, it'll feel different. Maybe you'll miss us a little bit. You'll be like, wow, like they were there for us even on the weeks with the holidays. They were there for us, and through thick and thin, they still gave us multiple episodes a week. Well, it's travel, and you're still getting great content because of it. So,
we're moving and shaking, baby.
Yeah,
we're moving and shaking.
We're doing shit. Joe, how about them Durs, huh?
Woo!
Shit.
Damn, Joe.
Yeah, I picked them to win it all. I mean, I saw that you and everyone at Underdog picked them to lose, and they fucking won. I wasn't surprised. I know everyone else is surprised, but
they brought Dan Campbell to tears, Joe.
Yeah, they looked like the little Lions thought that the little Commanders were little, but we're actually the big dogs, and we're gonna fuck the Eagles up.
You think so?
I didn't put money on it yet, but I will say that I'm pretty confident they will fuck the Eagles up.
It is such a tough spot for me to be in too, because like I absolutely loathe both teams. I want both of them. If they could each score negative points and tie, I would want that to happen.
What's your beef with the Eagles?
But fuck the Eagles. What are you talking about? What's the beef with the Eagles? What the fucking Eagles? Tired ass fucking Eagles. Those dirty fucking sea chickens. If
you're a Cowboys fan, if you're a Cowboys fan watching this game, really what you should be rooting for is fucking JD Jedi 5 to get hurt and be out and injured for the rest of his career, because he basically sentenced the entire division of 20 years of never winning the division again. Like the best quarterback in the league, who's a rookie, is on your fucking rival.
What the fuck is wrong with you, Joe?
What? I'm just being realistic for a Cowboys fan. That's what you got to hope. Because at this
I'm not
point,
rooting for anybody to lose limbs or fucking. I don't want any of that. I want them to be healthy. I want them to have a Hall of Fame career, but I want them to have a Dan Marino Hall of Fame career. Fuck you. You're not winning anything, but you can be good. That's fine. Be great.
That's why it's going to be a tough game for the Eagles and especially the Cowboys. Well, probably worse for the Eagles, but
yeah, I think I'd rather. No, I don't want your Durs doing it. I'd rather. Oh God, I'm not even.
It's here. The reckoning is here. It's been 20, 30 years of embarrassment, getting shit on every fucking day. We suck. We suck.
Well, I tell you what.
And now we're the goats.
You know who ain't walking through that door, Joe? Mark Rippon ain't walking through that door. Stank Mark Schlereth ain't walking through that door. John Riggins ain't walking through that door. Doug Williams ain't walking through that fucking door. Joe, ain't happening.
JD's already better than Williams.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know who any of those people are, but I do know that in football, every game means more during the playoffs. And you can start your own personal playoffs on Underdog, where you could cash in on touchdowns, interceptions, yards, and more. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and you could take up to $1,000, take home up to 1,000 times your money if you get your picks right. And my picks were not right this time around. The magic is worn off. It's that simple. Millions of fans have already won billions of dollars making picks. Sign up on Underdog today using promo code Jared, and you'll get a free pick as part of your first cash pick'em entry. Plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Again, that's promo code Jared. Since we're in the era of accountability, I must issue an apology to my mother. I think I said on this podcast that we don't do birthday presents. She did get me a birthday present last year. She said, I think your memory's a little fucked up, Jared. Like, I got you. What about that card detail that I got you for your birthday this year? And I was like, you're right. You did get me that for my birthday. But can you name a birthday present that you got me since, I don't know, my 12th birthday? And she said, well, no. And I was like, well, I think your memory's a little fucked up then. Either that or we don't do birthdays. Like I said, we don't really do birthday presents. But she was very upset. She was like, I get you a birthday present every year. I can't believe you don't remember them. And I was like, well, you don't remember them either. So she did get me a card detailing for my birthday this year. I remember that. I acknowledge that. And Dallas, as you recall, for my 30th birthday, my birthday present was my mom, which was my favorite birthday present of all time. That was the best birthday present I've ever gotten. But outside of that, as an adult, I don't know that there's been, gift giving occasions, and that's fine. I just said all I said was I go big on Christmas because we don't really do birthdays. I wasn't complaining that I don't get birthday presents.
What do you mean your mom was your gift for your 30th birthday?
So I was stuck in this shithole called Stockton, California.
Easy.
And the Red Sox are playing the A's. So for the first time, I think maybe ever, I didn't get to see my mom on my birthday. And she surprised me by flying across the country and showing up to the Oakland Coliseum at midnight on my birthday. Yes. And Dallas facilitated the surprise element of it. And also he gave her a shout out on the big board, which was a little inappropriate, I feel. It kind of took a sentimental moment and maybe tainted it a little bit.
Not at all. Not at all. I feel
maybe
like
not for you, but for me, I think that it was a little inappropriate given the circumstances.
It was great. And I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity as well to thank Ellen, because without missing a beat, it's the card, it's the phone call, it's the video every year. And so Ellen, thank you for continuing to include me in your thoughts on my birthday every year. Yeah. As I do, I reciprocate, and you got that package coming again. That's right. But thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I'd fly my guy down here to do me sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. Since we're offering up corrections on this show, I had to note that. I did want to get into the Roki Sasaki Tanner Scott conversation because it's a very polarizing topic. And if you have the wrong take on it, then you are absolutely destroyed on the internet streets. Like up until probably it's the Dodgers are always in the middle of this, but like the Astros cheating scandal was probably the only other example I could think of where you throw a tweet about the subject matter into the ether and it just automatically spawns with 1 billion likes. The Dodgers, I don't even know what the word would be here. It's not manipulated. The Dodgers it's not gaming the system either. Like what they're doing is legal. What they're doing is within the rules. You're allowed to do this. Like
Jared, it's just pissing people. Look, it's just making people mad because there's no other way. Like it's like the Ohtani effect when it comes to the MVP conversation, because you're saying, well, if he's going to put up 15 wins a year with a 2.8 or a 3 ERA and he's going to hit 40 homers a year, we're just going to give him the MVP every year. And the answer is yes.
Is anyone else doing that?
I'm sorry that fatigues you. And I'm sorry that a guy posting a top 5 to top 7 Cy Young effort on the mound and being a top 5 offensive player year in and year out, I'm sorry that fatigues you, but that absolutely makes him one of the most valuable players that sport in general has ever seen, let alone baseball. So then if you put that in a team perspective, like I said earlier, you're watching a team just hit on every potential cylinder that you would ask for a front office to hit on. Are you drafting well? Yes. Are we developing talent? We are. Are you securing talent through trades and free agency? We are. Are you securing talent through the international signings? We are. Are you winning? We are. Are you making money? We are. There's nothing that they're doing that is failing. And that can make you mad. I think that's what has a lot of people sort of mixed up and like in their feels, in your emotions.
Yeah.
You're in your heart right now because everybody wants their team to behave this way. And when it doesn't happen, you get bitter, you get frustrated, and it's tough to be. I think for the first time in a long time, you have answers to the questions that you're asking, even as a fan of another team. Like, how is this happening? They're winning. How can they afford to do this? They have cornered an international market. They have capitalized on a moment in time in the sport and on a player that would completely change the trajectory of any other franchise should they have been able to land that individual and position themselves and offer that individual economically what the Dodgers can offer. So don't get mad at the Dodgers because they're in Hollywood. Don't get mad at the Dodgers because they have a lineage of international players that have come over and succeeded that current international players want to be a part of. That's not the Dodgers' fault. You just heard Joe Kelly talk about it. Buddy, if all things are equal, which they were in the Sasaki deal, if all things are equal and you're picking from New York, Los Angeles, Boston, they didn't get a call, sorry, Milwaukee or Cleveland or Pittsburgh, remember, all things are equal. Where are you going? So who are you mad at? Are you mad at baseball for allowing this?
I'll tell you who I'm mad at, Dallas. I'll tell you who I'm mad at. And who to blame for all of this? John Henry. The 2019 Los Angeles Dodgers. Guess who their best player was? By wins above replacement.
Is he the shortstop now?
No. The 2019 Dodgers. Who was the best player in the 2019 Dodgers by wins above replacement?
Bellinger.
No. Well, yeah, it actually was. Yeah, Cody Bellinger was the best player on the Dodgers. Then it was Max Muncy. Then it was Justin Turner. Max Muncy being the only player still there. The Red Sox traded Mookie Betts to the Los Angeles Dodgers because they couldn't afford him. And now the way that the sport has gone in the last half decade, his contract is a steal for the output that you're getting for the price that you're paying for Mookie Betts. And Mookie Betts was kind of like the first of the deferred payment boys. He deferred a lot of the money in that contract. And it's like, okay, so that sets the tone. From that point forward, if I go to play for the Dodgers, who am I? If Mookie Betts is deferring payments, who am I to not do the same if it's for the betterment of the team? So you have Freddie Freeman come in, defer payments. And when Shohei Ohtani picks the Dodgers, obviously they have this long history of winning the division, making the playoffs, going to the World Series, all those things. But playing alongside MVP winner Mookie Betts, MVP winner Freddie Freeman, the base of hey, let's build the Avengers here started with the Red Sox trading Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. Because all due respect to Cody Bellinger, but he was never the same player again after that. And then the next best player on the team was Max Muncy, and the next best player after that was Justin Turner, who's turning 40. So the opportunity to play alongside those guys, Shohei Ohtani's like, well, why not? I'm in LA. It's a great place to market myself. You're on the West Coast. You know, the plane ride to Japan, sure, we'll sign right up for that. And I look at the talent I get to play with. Then after Shohei Ohtani says the Dodgers are my new team, we'll open up the Japanese floodgates because here comes Yamamoto. Here comes Sasaki. And as the talent continues to come out of there, why would they choose anywhere else to play? Because if it's coming before, you can make the big money in free agency. If you're taking the Sasaki route and we're just picking geographical preference or team preference, why not the Dodgers? If it's the team that's going to spend the most money, again, why not the Dodgers? So they have built themselves once they secured Shohei, it was kind of all over because it's not just the Japanese players who want to play with Shohei. Jared, you hear all these other guys where it's like, yeah, I would love to play with Shohei.
But locking up Shohei, when you talk specifically about what that does, like a specific implication. And as far as the wheel, the machine of the Dodgers, a spoke in that wheel is their international presence and your ability to scout and secure talent on the international stage. So when you bring over the sport's most important and valuable player in Ohtani, you are now setting the stage. Everybody that values the same things that Ohtani might value is more than happy to start to fall in line. More than happy, because you are creating a world, you're creating a blueprint for how to operate there. And nobody else. And when it comes to the international pool, as we understand, there is going to be an ultimate cap on what guys can get from any one team. From there, you have to be able to offer that player some of the other opportunities that the Dodgers have in spades that no other team has, it feels like, right? If you have a marketability factor from the international side of things already established in a place like Los Angeles and you're an international star, would you rather go there, or would you rather try to establish those roots and establish those relationships yourself in Pittsburgh? What do you want to do? How do you want to do that? Yeah, LA, Hollywood, like the contingency, like it's everything about it seems unfair because it almost is.
I've kind of like changed my tune a little bit on it. Like I think I said after Blake Snell signed there that I was like, moving forward, I lose respect for anyone that goes to the Dodgers, just because like it is the super team. Like, they are a super team. I know that like there's been some people who are like, well, you can't have a super team in baseball because it takes so many players. It's like, no, they're a super team. Like we
super duper team.
Yeah, they are a super team. But I was kind of saying like, yeah, I kind of just lose respect for anyone that chooses that place to play. But now that I think of it a little bit from the free agent perspective, like a Tanner Scott, if they offer you the most money, who is anyone to say take less to play for a shittier team? Like, that's crazy to say. I think the only instance where you can say you're a pussy is if you take less money to go to the Dodgers. It's like, oh, okay. Like, you're not setting yourself up as best as you possibly can financially. And you're joining a super team for less.
But that's arguing with you. So then you would tell the player why he's playing the sport. So then you would get to tell the player, oh, you're not playing it for money. God damn you. You're playing it to try to win championships. You should be playing to get paid. What the fuck are you saying right now? What are you saying?
I'm saying that if you are like, say it's the Dodgers and the D-backs, and the D-backs are close, and you take less money to go play for the Dodgers, you're taking the easy way out. Like, I don't respect that. But
the easy way out, we are here to win championships. I'm here to win a championship. And if the best team is offering me employment,
they're not just the best team. They are significant.
So you just called Roki Sasaki a bitch. Roki Sasaki would.
No, that I didn't get to Sasaki.
That's exactly what you just did. You called Roki Sasaki a bitch.
I did not get to
with the Dodgers.
I did. It's a completely different scenario. I didn't get to Sasaki.
Not at all. He's being offered significantly more money.
No, it's not about money.
So he's a bitch. He took the easy way out.
No, incorrect. I didn't say anything about Sasaki. I was not on that podcast that day. No, I didn't. He's not a typical free agent. We're not talking big money with Sasaki. All the money was basically the same.
Oh, so now there's a dollar limit to whether or not you want to win a championship or should take money.
We're talking pennies. He signed for pennies.
No, you're talking about a player
Sasaki
playing for
I don't know
one
why
of two
you're making
things.
this argument right now. Sasaki clearly is not in the same conversation as Tanner Scott.
No,
and
what
Blake
you said,
Snell and all these other guys.
You said
we're not talking about a traditional free agent.
A player that is going to take less money to join the Dodgers, you don't have respect for.
Yeah,
and I am asking how in a world where athletes are criticized for playing for just the money and just chasing a bag, how can an athlete then be criticized for wanting to win a championship? He wants to win. He doesn't care about the money. He wants to win. A lot of people would like that guy in the clubhouse. A lot of people would.
Okay, well then, apply it to things that I've actually said. I don't criticize players for taking the most money. I hope they make every dime that they possibly can make.
Joey, what do you got?
I got a lot, man. Dodgers are really good. I don't know. On this,
I didn't even get to make my fucking point about Sasaki.
Make the point.
If
is he a bitch or not?
If roles were reversed and you were an American baseball player being recruited to go play in Japan, and there was a team that had 2 other really good American players on it, and the rest of the league was basically Japanese, what team would you pick? Like, you're going to go where you feel comfortable. It's like, all right, these, like, especially if all money is the same, like, I'm in my position, if Dallas and J-Hay were on the Yomiuri Giants, or whatever the fuck you say it.
Yomiuri.
If they were on the Giants, and then like every other team was offering me the same money, why the fuck wouldn't I go play with Dallas and J-Hay? I want to be able to feel comfortable. It's a complete culture shock. I don't speak the language. Like, yeah, well, I'm gonna go want to play with my pals. So I don't like the people that are coming after Sasaki for picking the Dodgers. It's like, what would you do if roles were reversed?
Well, and one of the reasons that everybody claimed it was so obvious that he was going to pick the Dodgers and a sham and all this sort of stuff is for all of the reasons that it was appealing, right? Like, so there's a little bit of a fake element to this outrage where it's like all of the people that are pretending to be mad about Roki Sasaki choosing the Dodgers over the Padres and the Blue Jays are the same people who acknowledged at the very beginning that this was not a real competition because of all the built-in advantages and self-created advantages and person-to-person advantages that the Dodgers had from the get-go. I don't recall a singular. I feel like this signing in particular, and I feel like we knew this was going to happen, has created something of a psychotic break among a portion of fans of baseball that I don't remember a signing doing in the last couple of decades. Like, I know that it's been like the piling on,
the pile-on effect. That's all it is.
Like, this is the one that seems to have pushed everything to a different point. Like, I'm seeing, I'm sure you guys have saw it. The social conversation last night and today, to some extent, was centering around like, would people want a work stoppage to basically like miss the 2027 season or whatever to more or less stop what the Dodgers are doing right now? They've won 1 title. They won 1 title in, I mean, I know 2020, but like in this era of like being unfair, they've won.
But they're once. 1 for 1.
And it's like,
they're 1 for 1 with Shohei.
Mickey Mouse this, Mickey Mouse that. Oh, it's cute. Your 60-game World Series championship. Like, that was less than 5 years ago. Now people are going, stop.
Work stoppage? I can't miss a season? Like, what are we talking about? And like, and I think the other thing that's been sort of overlooked in the conversation about the Dodgers amassing all of this talent is I don't think they're being given enough credit for how like targeted they've been with their decision and meticulous they've been with the decisions of who to award the big money to and when to tie up that money. Like, Corey Seager was a developed player that they had in-house. He left for $325 million with the Rangers. They let Trey Turner walk, who was not developed there, but certainly was a high-profile trade asset that went on to get $300 million from the Phillies. They didn't extend Bellinger long-term. They didn't tie money up in Walker Buehler long-term. Some of these, they were saving their nest eggs for a targeted period of time and perhaps a targeted group of players. And you can complain that it's not great for the game, but I also just have a hard time generating a lot of anger towards a team that is just so well, and an organization that is just making decisions with all facets of the organization moving in the same direction.
I don't have anger towards the Dodgers.
No, I'm not saying you do.
I have anger towards the other MLB owners that sit back and kind of let this happen, but it's very nuanced. Like, it's not this side or this side. The other owners need to spend money. Yes. But what I tweeted, what was it, yesterday, whenever Tanner Scott signed with the Dodgers, and it's more deferred money. It's like, okay, yes, the people that are saying, well, every team can do deferred payments. The Dodgers aren't the only team that can do this. It's like, yes, but the Dodgers are the only team that can offer you chance to play with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and play in Los Angeles, like geographical preference is big, and playing in the warm weather of California, not every team can do that as well. And just the talent that they have on that roster. Like, players are deferring payments because they want to help the Dodgers win as many championships as possible over the next 10 years. If you're the Cleveland Guardians, you're not going to be like, hey, do you want to defer payments to help us out? We're not going to spend the money elsewhere. Like, we're not going to like go all in this winter. We'd kind of just want to pay you later. And you're like, no, pay me the money now. Fuck you.
I'm glad you said the word nuance, because I do think in the conversation about every team can do this, we've sort of lost the plot a little bit, because there is a difference between every team can do what the Dodgers are doing right now and separate thought. Some of these owners should be embarrassed and really should be spending more and investing in their clubs, and their behavior is unacceptable, right? There is a middle ground between those two where we can acknowledge that, yes, it is really frustrating that 5 teams or whatever it is have spent $0.00 in free agency this offseason. That's very frustrating. It's very frustrating that there are teams that have 1/6 or 1/5 of the payroll that the top teams have. Those are all things that can be frustrating, but we can also acknowledge that not every team is capable of building what the Dodgers are doing right now or leveraging their finances in the exact same way, even if they all could be better about it. The Cleveland Guardians could run an organization in the absolute perfect fashion, 100th percentile, and they could not develop a situation where they're going to be able to attract free agents in the same way that the Los Angeles Dodgers are able to do. Those are two things that we can acknowledge, while also acknowledging that every team in Major League Baseball could behave more like this than they are currently.
And here's what can be acknowledged, and just to use the Cleveland Guardians as that example, is it's not about operating on the same level as the Dodgers. It's about utilizing and leveraging the same mechanisms, the same economical, strategical mechanisms that are available to use. So I'm not asking the Cleveland Guardians to go and spend equally. I'm asking you to utilize the same mechanisms to try to see where you can create the market for yourself. But if you don't do that, you're just not trying. So think about a hill of dirt, lumpy, tough. Maybe there's some rocks in there. All right. And you've got the hard metal rake as an option. You've got that flimsy plastic rake as an option. And you've got a rototiller machine. All right. And we need this hill loosened up. And what the Dodgers are doing is they're utilizing the rototilling machine. They're utilizing the heavy rake. And they're also using that light flimsy rake to dress it up at the end, where other teams are going, you know what? We're good with just the flimsy rake and we'll rake it and that'll be how we do it. Well, there's other tools that are available to you. You can use those tools. Are you opting not to? Yeah, we're good. We don't want to use those. We're going to use this tool. And that's what our hillside is going to look like. Well, the Dodgers hillside has a fucking Hollywood sign on it. Lights. It's got a lot of cool stuff on it. These other hillsides, the one in Cleveland, well, it's really not even a hill. It's Moundsville, if you've ever heard of it. Shout out West Virginia. So like it's really not even a comparison. You can't even have the conversation, man. And that's okay. But it's like you're blaming the Dodgers for being really good at what they're doing.
The rich get richer. And I get everyone saying, like, chill out with the Dodgers hate, like, because we don't really know how good they're going to be this year. We know that they're going to be close to the World Series. But the facts is, like, we all agree they got the best lineup in the league. No? They got the best lineup, 3 MVPs. They got the best starting pitching maybe ever. I mean, is that possible to have 9 starters to open a season? Like, this could be the best. So this is hands down the best lineup, hands down the best starting pitching staff. Now with Tanner Scott and Kopech, with Trident, Phillips, Vezina, you could say that's the best bullpen maybe. So if a team has the best starting lineup and has the best starting pitchers and has the best bullpen, and they go and win 130 games this year, wherever the fuck, and they win the World Series, it's like a nuclear bomb Because what this is about competitive balance. If that happens, all this, every team could do this is mute. It could be a big problem if they are actually as good as they can be. If they hit that top level of performance, this could actually be a major problem.
I do think there is a real downside scenario from that perspective over the medium term, but I feel confident going back to it that baseball just overcomes these things and this kind of stuff is cyclical. And maybe that comes with a work stoppage and maybe it doesn't. I'm certainly not rooting for it, but I just go back to 20 years ago, the Yankees payroll was $85 million more than the number 2 team and more than double the number 3 team. That is a gap that is on a different magnitude than the gap that exists even from the Dodgers to everybody else today. So and the point isn't that people weren't mad about that too. They absolutely were mad about it. People hated the Yankees,
buying championships.
But the sport survived. We got through it. And maybe there is a self-correction here, but I'm glad that Joey brought up the Tanner, maybe the best bullpen now too, because a little bit lost in the shuffle of all of this is the fact that Tanner Scott has an argument as the first or second or third or fourth or fifth best reliever in all of baseball over the last 2 years. Just on pure ranking, he's first in both versions of WAR and second in ERA and fourth in innings pitched among relief pitchers since the start of 2023. So they didn't just add a really good reliever. They added a guy who obviously is getting paid at or near the top of market and is as good as a relief pitcher has been coming into free agency in quite some time. So it is the rich get richer and it is nauseating to a degree, but as you guys have said multiple times, they also offered the most money.
And also Tanner Scott, in a lot of ways, this is the Dodgers' biggest big dick move of the offseason. You wouldn't think because it's a reliever, but Tanner Scott was the anti-Shohei pitcher. This guy was used all year in San Diego just for Shohei. I mean, he was amazing outside of Shohei, but I don't have the numbers up right now, but he dominated Shohei and they put him in the playoffs and that helped. And it's to be able to just let's sign a guy because I know this is our kryptonite to the best player we have on our team. If we just get him on our team, we just solve that problem right there just because we sign him. That is pretty savage.
Yes,
and
Joe.
No other teams are doing shit like that. Just we want this guy. Not only is he good, but he is the one guy who can silence our guy. So we'll just get him.
It makes you feel like Shohei was the Dr. Claw just sitting in a dark room petting a cat, telling Friedman, "Bring me Scott. Bring me Scott." And get him here and it's done. But the last thing I'll say about this, because Jared brought up the Mookie Betts deferral and that sort of starting the cascade. As we sit today, the Dodgers have a total of $1.375 billion in deferred money. Shohei with $680 deferred, Betts with $115 deferred, Snell with $66 deferred, Freddie Freeman with $57 million deferred, Will Smith getting jiggy with it. He's got $50 deferred. Tommy Edman, who's got $50 deferred. Teoscar, 23 and a half of them things deferred. And Tanner Scott said, "Go ahead and keep 21 mil. I'll see you on the back end."
I'm glad Joey brought up the Padres though at the end, because this is just put ourselves back in the mindset of the podcast we were doing after the Padres went up 2-1 in the NLDS, and what we were all thinking about where this was all headed. And I know this is a sensitive subject for Jared, but just how intense that rivalry felt and how this could go either way, trajectory of franchise moment that felt sliding doors almost. And from that point, it's been nothing but wins for the Dodgers, literally, and nothing but losses or inaction for the Padres. Left unsaid in Joey's point, which was a good one, is that the Padres acquired Tanner Scott at the trade deadline, and then the Dodgers proceeded to beat the Padres and then just pay $72 million for that relief pitcher who was a real problem for them that their division rival just paid real prospects to acquire 6 months ago. And I went and counted it.
And they ripped Sasaki away too. Everyone,
100%.
Sasaki was there in Padres fucking shorts throwing pitches in the outfield. And then 48 hours later, welcome to the Dodgers.
And Darvish, heartbroken.
And you recounted all of the signings, the transactions that the Dodgers have done this offseason. And I went this morning and I counted all of the transactions that the Padres have done this offseason, and it is 0 major league deals, 25 minor league contracts, and 1 Rule 5 selection. And I know there are ownership dispute, legality reasons, finances being tied up, debt, and all that sort of stuff. I know what the reasons are for some of this inaction, but that contrast really can't be more stark between these two teams that had that moment just a couple of months ago where it felt like these are two organizations that are going toe to toe, that are actually at each other's level. And might we see this mighty Dodgers team get unseated? And the answer was no. And it's only been momentum and descent since.
And that's even a bigger part of the factor, or a bigger part of the equation that factors in to the Sasaki and any other free agents choosing San Diego, because the Guggenheim, they're not getting a divorce. The Guggenheim is not like they're solid. They're good.
But I don't think it's too much to, maybe it is. You guys tell me if it's too much to say. I think Sasaki choosing the Dodgers over the Padres is more devastating to the Padres and their trajectory moving forward than Juan Soto walking on the Yankees to go to the Mets is for the Yankees. The Yankees, that's a devastating
blow. Interdivision.
Right. And ultimately the Yankees will be fine. I really think this was a defining moment for the Padres, given what their offseason had looked like to this point and the talent gap that had already existed between these two clubs. And for them to lose out on this, like, I think we're going to look back at the 2024 to 25 offseason for the Padres and say, like, that was the end of whatever this period kind of was.
There's a good chance. Especially, I mean, their owner died. And now they're talking about they might sell the team. Like, that's what this lawsuit is saying.
Yep.
Like, there's a chance that these new guys want to move the team eventually in 10 years. Like, that could be the long-term goal. Do we really want to be in San Diego? Which is the complete opposite of what they were rocking with Seidler, where he's like, we own San Diego. We are San Diego. Now, if you listen to his wife or whatever in the lawsuit, she's saying that the new owners long-term want to move the team and are looking at that. They're definitely trying to spend less money. That's a key. And then you had Roki Sasaki. They could have got Roki Sasaki for cheap. Then you lose him. So who are you going to get?
And it feels like any roster changes or attempts at improvement that the Padres make moving forward will be taking from one side to give to the other, right? Like it feels like it's not going to be all of a sudden they spend $75 million to improve this team this offseason or even next offseason. It's probably more like we're going to trade Luis Reyes, right? Who we got last season, or we're going to put Dylan Cease back on the move and try and repopulate in other parts of the roster. Like, that's the sort of deal that it feels like would be coming for these guys, because there's just no financial flexibility if you read the reports above and beyond the stuff that Joey just mentioned.
That rotation is, I think you take a 2-year outlook, you zoom out 2 years from that rotation, major question marks.
I don't think there's a single guy in the current projected starting 5 who's probably pitching meaningful innings for the Padres in the period you're talking about.
I know it, Jay, and we don't need to continue to beat the Sasaki thing, but that's another reason, because ultimately 2 years from now, Sasaki's going, where'd everybody go?
Yeah. I don't know if we ever really talked about the Seidler shit when I was gone or anything, but like, I feel like that's an underrated story. Like, this guy basically, it seems like, and they never really made this public or talked about it, but it seems like he kind of knew he was going to die and was like, I want to win a World Series before I die. And just he didn't care. I'm just going to spend, who gives a fuck about the long-term financial ramifications of this? Like, we're trying to win right now. And you saw how beneficial that was. If you look at the team valuations, like, it worked from a bit, like, from my, I don't know, but it seemed like it actually worked financially too. Like, the team is worth like $2 billion and he bought it for like $800K or some shit.
800K. Bro, I could buy the Padres right now.
800 million. But there's no owner. I don't know anyone who's going to go into a team like San Diego and spend like that. So they had that mountaintop, and now it looks like it's going to be back to how the Padres were kind of ran forever, small market team. And it's kind of sad. They still do have all these contracts and they have a really good roster. Like, it's not like the Padres are going to suck this year. At least they shouldn't suck.
No. That sucks though, because I mean, obviously you go out there and you start spending and trading like a madman to acquire all these high profile, really talented players. And then all of a sudden one guy passes away and it's like, well, all right, back to mediocrity we go. And I mean, we'll see how long that process takes. I mean, Manny Machado, I don't think is going anywhere. Bogart, certainly no one's taking on that contract. Dylan Cease is a free agent at the end of the year. Tatis, I don't know. There's not much I wouldn't do. There's not much I wouldn't do to trade for that guy. I'm not even talking about giving up prospects. I'm talking about doing filthy shit. Unforgivable, filthy shit to make that happen.
Open up a lot of holes for Tatis.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Functioning or not. All right. Dallas is he's on a timer today, so let's jump right into the 1992 MLB Re-Draft.
Here we go.
I forget the order. I do know that I'm last, as always.
Joe, J. Hay, me, you.
Got it. Yep, that's what I have right here. Joseph.
Right? Is that right?
Yep. Joe, J. Hay, Dallas, Jared.
All right. Well, if I'm going first, I might as well just pick Derek Jeter.
Now, what did I do wrong? What did I see wrong?
Okay.
We'll go out on a limb there, Joe.
It's a good pick.
It's a risk because his defense there's some questions.
The worst of all time.
I'm going to go Derek Jeter on that one.
The literal worst of all time.
J. Hag.
I was hoping Jeter would fall. That's disappointing. All right. I think, man.
What are you debating?
You don't think there's any debate here?
There's debate.
I'm interested in the idea that there isn't debate. I mean, we're not going to debate it yet because I'll make the selection, but let me just make sure. I think there is some level of debate here.
There is. What there's no debate about is that once again there is a redraft where the drop off from the first 3 picks to the 4th pick is
That's
quite
true.
notable. Yeah.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, that's a tough break for you, but you've gotten most of the bounces in the redrafts, I think, generally. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards peak here over a slight edge in career value, depending on what metrics you're looking at, and go with Jason Giambi.
Wow, great pick.
Thank you.
This is also a snake draft, by the way, so I do get back-to-back picks.
You do. Just want to call out that, everybody remembers how good Jason Giambi was, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
He was okay.
Now that Dallas has made the obvious third choice, now I get to pick back-to-back mediocre players.
Who did Dallas select? Let's not assume that he didn't space out on his list, man.
That's true.
What do you mean?
Dallas went Steve Cox. Steve Cox.
No, you went Giambi?
Yeah, I went Giambi, the guy who had a 171 OPS over a 5-season span from 99 to 03. He was basically just Juan Soto.
So I take Johnny Damon?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the right call.
God,
and that's it. That's the draft.
There you go.
Oh, so salty.
I mean, I get fucked every goddamn draft, but you know what? I'm taking Jason Kendall, and I love the pick. Yeah, I love the pick. One. Yeah, I love this pick. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Kendall, the 23rd overall pick in the real draft by the Pirates. I'm kind of surprised, if I'm going to be honest, Dallas had a real chance to lean into his Pirates fandom there and just decided to take Johnny Damon instead of one of the legendary Pirates of the last 30 years. Guy who gave his ankle.
He's a fraud.
Well, trust me, I was going to if he was going to be mine, because I depending on how that all shook up at the front. Because I'll be honest, I had an individual on there. I almost havens myself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a havens out there. There's a
lot of havens lingering.
Well,
in this draft.
that was why initially I was like, "What are you fucking debating?" And then I was like, "Oh, son of a bitch!" in my head, and I went back and was like, "No, you're an idiot, Dallas." Yeah.
By the way,
it's my pick again.
So Jared, yes.
Nice what? Jason Kendall pick, by the way. I just want to call that out.
Oh. Thank you. Oh shit. Lou Merlone was in this draft, but he didn't sign. Fuck.
Loomer.
I would have taken Lou.
I mean, you're seeing some of this like small level of Hall of Fame support for Brian McCann and Russell Martin. Jason Kendall's career numbers are right there with those guys.
He's pretty good.
That's it. Put some respect on it.
I'm not trying to put him in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, again, surprised Dallas let a guy whose entire prime was Pirates A's slip through his fingers.
Yeah. I think I'm going to make a surprise pick here. I don't think many people are going to see this coming.
Who you got?
I think I'm going Craig Counsell.
What?
Yeah.
For the manager side, is this like a Joey move?
The drop off, you'll notice the drop off is quite notable once you get past once everyone's made their selections besides me. Craig Counsell. It's a great pick.
Man, Craig Counsell. All right. I'm gonna have to go. Since you guys are riding my ass for not tugging at the nostalgia string, I'll tug at this nostalgia string because I actually stayed. I stayed in the same host family as this individual, and one of the most. What do we got?
Anthony Santander and the Blue Jays are in agreement, pending physical via John Morosi. The Toronto Blue Jays have signed a living, breathing player. I'd love to see how many teams offered more money and just backed away once they saw the physical on this one. But Anthony Santander staying in the AL East, but leaving the Baltimore Orioles to join the Toronto Blue Jays. And you know what, Jake? You know what? That says to me that increases the chances of the Red Sox getting Alex Bregman because all indications were that the Blue Jays were the highest bidder for Bregman and he still didn't budge. So I'm not saying that means he's coming to the Red Sox, but it's still the Tigers. It's still whatever. The Mets are out there. But the Blue Jays seem to be the sugar daddy. And if they pivoted to Santander, then I like our chances a little bit more. But either way, it's a nice fit for the Blue Jays. I'd love to see what the dollars look like on this because they are throwing desperate money at players. They're like, please become a Toronto Blue Jay.
What is your early thought?
On how much money it is?
They must have.
What's the deal?
400 is my guess.
I was going to say 400, 120 because Jared threw out the desperate money. Like, is that crazy?
That is too desperate.
You got Santander making 30 million a year.
4 and 120. If it's 4 and 120, the front office should resign.
Trust me, Jay. Yeah, I would say, I'm probably in that 3 to 4 year with an option piece. Somewhere around that century mark.
I mean, good for them, right? I mean,
well, they needed something, man.
They finally got somebody.
The Toronto Blue Jays have missed out on top tier free agents, middle tier free agents. I'm sure that there's been a popcorn vendor and a poutine slinger that has opted to serve elsewhere next year. Like, they've been going through it. They have not been able to land a soul. So for them to finally be able to plug in a guy that is going to be able to plug in some juice into this lineup as well, I think that should probably give Jays fans a little peace of mind. But ultimately, I just don't know that even the Santander, it feels like, okay, And like, is this it? Is there going to be anything else? Like, okay.
I hate to do a cross sports comparison, but I will for our NBA diehards here. This feels like, with the Vlad Jr. situation lingering, this feels to me like when the Blazers gave Jeremy Grant like $150 million, like on the heels of Damian Lillard saying that he was going to stick around, or them deciding that Damian Lillard was going to stick around, or whatever it was. And because this doesn't, he makes them like, he's a good player that you probably want on your team, but I just don't understand. Like, I know they're just doing anything and everything they can to, because every reporting out of Toronto suggests that they view this as a potential playoff team. Like, I know every time we talk about Toronto, they're like, we talk about them like the rebuild has already started and it's nothing but hopelessness and despair. And I think we're going to be proven correct on that eventually. But every report that comes out of Toronto or local beat articles or whatever suggests that they think this is the last window to compete and that they are trying to make the playoffs this season. And so when you view all of these attempts in that light, then there is something admirable about a team continuing to push to try to spend money in an era where we constantly mock teams that don't. I just don't know that a guy coming off of a career season that featured a 308 on base percentage, he makes them better. Does he make them better enough? I think I would still take this team to finish last in the AL East.
Damn.
Wow.
But
you guys think that's too harsh? Like, maybe the Rays if things break wrong, but I'd still trust their organizational infrastructure to outperform these guys, I think.
I mean, I'd say, no offense, but I would put the Red Sox last right now.
That's insane.
I'd put the Red Sox in
I am much more optimistic on the Red Sox than I am on the Blue Jays.
That's crazy.
Dead fucking last place.
Yeah, it's a Red Sox, Jays, Rays for the 3, 4, 5.
The Red Sox are going to probably win 90 games this year. That's kind of crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, I say it with love because it's a tough division. But it's kind of funny to say because, I mean, the Blue Jays, their lineup
5-year deal.
5 year deal.
George Springer.
Piece.
If they're not going to trade George Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, like, this is kind of like, yeah, they're obviously going to have to go for the playoffs. On paper, this team would be the best team in the Midwest right now. If they were in the AL Central, sorry, not the West. If the Blue Jays were in the AL Central, where would you put them?
I think if we're just talking about the 2025 season, I would put them in the broad mix to compete for the division, at least to start the year. I don't like their future relative to most of the teams in the Central, but I think I would put them. I think you're correct that they're not currently constructed a 70-win team. I don't think. I think they're an 80-ish win team that could do better with a couple of bounces. I just think you can say that about every team in the AL East, and I think the other outcomes for those other teams is better and / the floor is higher for those teams.
But to me, Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, then Santander, your top 4 hitters, that is a great top of the lineup.
But don't we have significant questions about at least 2 of those people? Like Bo Bichette, I know we all did like. He was legitimately bad last year and injury plagued, but the net product was bad. And George Springer might just be might be washed. I mean, he's had a great career and I'm not taking anything away from that, but like, he was really bad and has shown a multi-year decline offensively and defensively for whatever that
and
is.
He's 35.
And something that people haven't paid attention to, haven't talked a lot about, something that I know is very real though, is when you just have a vibe, when it feels like it's a room that doesn't have any sort of defined leadership, and it's a room that sort of gives off an energy that folks are kind of on their own page and doing things their own way and then kind of come together at game time. That's not a place where, if you're trying to land people who want to create culture or change culture and win, that's a very, 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 very difficult place to just sort of be parachuted into, dropped into, and shift. If there's guys there who are a big part of their future plans that maybe don't make it as welcoming for places or for people. That's something you have to consider. And it's a sentiment that has been echoed multiple times.
Yeah, I agree.
The good news is we're still talking about the guy with the 6 most home runs in baseball over the last 3 seasons. So
yeah. But I think we are just also looking at a situation where a player got an offer he couldn't refuse and was like, fine, fuck it. Like, I don't really care about the direction. It also is kind of like a little bit interesting to consider the rest of his market. Like, what was the second best offer? Like, who else was really in? We didn't really hear a ton on the Santander market.
So,
I think a lot of us looked at the Mariners and we're like, oh, here's a team that needs offense. Maybe the Mariners are a good fit. But the Mariners don't really spend that kind of money on free agents.
So I think you've made a good point, which is that I think the teams that were in line to give Santander what we'll call life-changing money are probably second division teams or teams that are not the absolute cream of the crop in Major League Baseball. And so I think his choice probably, let's say I'm correct. I think it's probably different versions of the same thing. Do I want to go to this team that could win 75 to 85 games, or do I want to go to this other team that could win 75 to 85 games? Because if we're talking about the Mariners, we're basically talking about that sort of team as well. And if the Blue Jays are actually offering the most money by a meaningful amount, then I could see why you would end up in this situation.
And now let's play a little hypothetical. What, we don't have a dollar amount to this contract yet. We know it's 5 years.
Correct.
So let's say the Dodgers, Jared, come in and offer him a year less, $20 million less.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes that.
Yep.
Is he a bitch?
Pussy. I never said bitch. I said pussy. He's a pussy. Yes. I never called him a bitch.
He's a pussy.
Mm-hmm. Pussy.
So he gets the bag and he's got, let's say the deal is for 3 years. What do you mean? Well, no, that was my whole point is you're defining his bag and that's not your decision to make. That's his. And so
it's not objective. It's very subjective.
Well, no, the line of delineation, the line of delineation is he is okay with taking that money from that location. That's the conversation. Yeah. And so the hypothetical is, all right, if money is close to equal and it's maybe just a year less or 20 mil less, when we're talking about a deal in the $100 million mark, do you want $80 million and you can play for the Dodgers? Or do you want your $100 million and you can go play anywhere else?
Yeah, the $100 million to play anywhere else.
And you're an idiot.
Mm-mm. No, I'm in the vast majority of Major League Baseball players who would make the same decision. Yeah, because it's not like Tanner Scott took a fucking, like, that's why I never said anything about Tanner Scott. Like, Tanner Scott signed there. He obviously got the most money. Like, there was a fake report from Bob Nightingale that the Red Sox offered more years, more money, and he still went to the Dodgers or something like that. But like the Dodgers, even with Blake Snell, the Dodgers still made Blake Snell the best offer. It's only when you're like, sure, I'll take less money so I can come win you some championships. Yeah, I'll take less financial security for my family so I can go there. Like, that's the only time where I'm like, you're a pussy. But if they're making you the best offer, which to our knowledge, they made Tanner Scott the best offer, they made Blake Snell the best offer, and I already defended Roki Sasaki going there. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. If I were in his shoes, I would go play with my friends. I wouldn't go to a foreign country that I don't speak the language or know anything about the culture and have the option to be with my friends and choose not to be with my friends. That's all. Dallas, you have to go. So I think you have to forfeit the rest of the draft, right?
No, I select Charles Johnson.
Okay.
So he'll have half a team. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have half a team, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good.
Hurry.
I mean, that evens it out after that absolutely charity victory that he won on the vote last time.
Yeah. Jay, your pick?
That was correct.
Oh, my pick. I think I'm going to go with Preston Wilson.
Wow. The Preston Wilson?
The Preston Wilson. Don't look at that wins above replacement number. Don't let
Damn, dude.
Don't let those stat nerds confuse the issue, because we're talking about a guy who from 1999 to 03 for those legendary franchises, the Rockies and the Marlins,
Preston Wilson
averaged 28 homers and 20 stolen bases a season with an 828 OPS.
Big Presty.
Big Presty. That's going to fit right with Giambi's prime as well. So I'm aligning my talent for that 99 to 03 run that we're going to put together.
Yeah, almost a quarter of the player that, just a little over a quarter of the player Charles Johnson was.
Wow. Joseph?
And so I'm going to go with some guy that I know knows no one even thought of it, but I'm going Bobby Bonds, because Bobby Bonds got drafted in this draft. And no, it's not Bobby Bonds Jr., it's Bobby Bonds. So if you whoever's doing the graphic, when you write his name on the page, he does not have the same name as Bobby Bonds, Barry Bonds' dad. They have a different name. Bobby Bonds, his real name is Robert in this draft, and he's on my team. So I got Bobby Bonds.
His name Robert Lee Bonds.
Yes, Robert Lee Bonds. But
probably not
his name, he goes by Bobby.
Yeah.
So you have to write Bobby. Can't put Robert Lee Bonds.
I mean,
that's a really good way to torpedo Derek Jeter as the first overall pick, is taking a guy who in 7 minor league seasons produced a 707 OPS and 2,200 plate appearances.
I'm taking Bobby Bonds.
It's all about
Hall of Famer.
Voter manipulation.
Joe giving us the opening we needed. This is our only chance.
Go ahead, Joe. You got another pick. You got another pick to fuck up.
Gary Matthews is my next pick.
Gary Matthews.
Yes, Gary Matthews. You might, Gary Matthews. There's a lot of Gary Matthews. A lot of them are really, really good baseball players. So I'm getting Gary Matthews on my team. As you can see, perennial all-star.
That's a Haven, sir.
Oh,
check again.
Oh.
Check again.
Oh.
That's a different Gary Matthews. That's a different Gary Matthews.
What are you guys doing right now?
He just
That's
Havens
a completely different Gary Matthews.
No, it's which Gary Matthews are you talking about?
The one who got drafted in the 1992 draft.
Yeah,
well, that one by the Twins. Unfortunately, he didn't sign, and then he went in the 13th round of the 93 draft.
Yeah. All right, I guess I got to go someone else.
Goal.
Let me go with Raul Banez.
Okay.
There you go.
It's not a bad pick.
There you go.
That's a great pick, and you guys can't pick him now.
Yep. Jay?
No, Raul's a good pick. Stand-up man, too, for my interactions. Do I take him? Or do I take...
Jay has Giambi, and I forgot to write in Preston Wilson because he was not on my list.
You didn't even have him on your board? That's bad scouting, brother.
Nah.
Preston Wilson.
Says the guy who missed Bobby Bonds.
He just didn't make it through my grinder, Jay. Yeah. That's all.
None of you are going to say that. You totally just didn't know that Bobby Bonds got drafted this year.
No, I just generally haven't selected people who didn't make it out of the minors.
Wow.
for this exercise. I'm going to take Shannon. I'm going to take the Shannon Stewart. Yep.
Ooh.
Look at you.
Finished
Former
fourth
teammate
in the 2003 MVP vote. One of the all-time craziest MVP finishes, by the way.
I was debating between Shannon Stewart and Craig Counsell for my second round pick, so it's a good pick.
I like my outfield right now. Shannon Stewart and Prestone. Dallas, you're up.
Dallas is up. And you know what? How do I want to do this? Do I want to go? I'll do it. Why won't I do it?
You don't have the balls, that's why.
No, I was gonna go a different way. This is my last pick, huh?
No.
Okay, I'll go this way, and then I think my guy will be there for me. He should be there for me. Give me John Lever.
Ah, you motherfucker.
Give me John Lever. That's right. John Lever, the innings eater. Led the league back in 251 innings. 35 games started, also led the league through a shutout. John Lieber.
I got a nugget.
Lieber.
You want to know a nugget on your guy you just drafted? He's the only pitcher in MLB history to give up a hit to a guy with one arm. Twice. Twice he gave up a hit to fucking Jim Abbott. Who has
Abbott got him.
Who has one hand, we all know that, and 10 career at bats. He got 2 hits off Lieber. Only 2 hits of his career. So that's the guy you drafted. A pitcher with one arm is getting fucking RBI singles against John Lieber, and I'm the stupid guy for picking Bobby Bonds. All right.
Yeah.
Jared gets 2 now.
Yeah, I already know one of my picks, but this draft is not deep. I'll be honest with you fellas. There's a lot of guys I would have taken, but they're all havens. Fuck, man.
I mean, these 2 picks right here, Jared, could absolutely make or break your draft.
My draft, I mean, you were fucked from the start with the 4th pick in this draft. So I am going to go with there's not even a good starting pitcher John Lieber was the only pitcher worth a fuck in this draft.
Well,
that's crazy. Fuck. There's not even recognizable names to get brownie
10,
points.
9.
All right. I'm going to take Frank Catalanato. Frank Catalanato.
Oh, Jared.
Famous Red Sox killer Frank Catalanato, who I believe follows me on Twitter. And with my last pick, Dougie's going deep tonight. Doug Mirabelli. Come on down.
Doug Mirabelli.
Yep.
Doug Mirabelli.
That is a brutal end of that
Wilson
draft.
selection. Yeah.
No, that's
you want to
good
talk about fucking stumbling through the finish line.
No, that's a good draft.
Multiple catch. I think this is the first multi-catcher draft between Mirabelli and Kendall.
You make it very easy, Jared, for me to go ahead and secure another stud pitcher in this draft. Rick Hellick, come on down. And I will also take Rich Aurelia. Come on down.
God, you only get one of those people.
Why?
Do you know how to fucking count, man?
Yeah, you're a dumbass.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah, so I'll take Hellick. Sorry.
Round before you said it was your last pick. You make that pick, and you come back and you make 2 more the following round.
Do I get so if nobody takes Aurelia, then go ahead and plug him on my team for the honorary Joseph 5th selection. If nobody takes Aurelia.
The honorary Joseph 5th. Okay, so it's my turn?
Yeah. So you're going to take Aurelia.
You don't want one more pick?
I mean, if the court pleases, I will take Aurelia.
All right. I feel like this guy slipped through. I'm going to be honest. I don't feel like he should have made it this far. I was going to take Phil Nevin, who was the number 1 overall selection in the draft, and I think probably has an argument to have been selected here in this draft. Maybe he will be. But I'm going to take a guy who got actual MVP votes at his peak, not many of them, but was a legitimate stud in the middle of the infield, 3-time All-Star for the Montreal Expos. Jose Vidro is my last pick. 6th round of the draft. As a reminder, Vidro was peaked as a 5-win player in 2002 for the Expos. So his peak was short, but good. I'm going to take Jose. Thank you. And that means Joey's wrapping us up.
All right. Last pick of the draft. I thought about taking Trip Keister, Troy Penix, Getty's Glaze. I almost got Getty's Glaze. Donovan Mitchell got drafted this year. I almost got Donovan Mitchell. I didn't go Donovan Mitchell. Mark Brunell got drafted, and he was the Redskins quarterback, so I fuck with him. But then I found out he's actually the quarterback's coach of the Lions now, and he just got embarrassed by the Durs, so can't go with Mark Brunell. Michael Jackson's on the board, but I'm not taking my coach. I'm gonna go with. This is a kind of a controversial pick, but Dennis Drinkwater, his nephew, was drafted in this draft. I don't know how you didn't pick this up, Jared. As a Red Sox guy,
5 years, 90, by the way, for Santander.
Sean Drinkwater is my last pick.
Sean Drinkwater. This is the nephew of Dennis Drinkwater.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's, as you guys know, you guys seen the Jake's video on Dennis Drinkwater if you're not aware.
Yep.
He's a legend in Boston.
Yep.
So I'm going to draft him, get the Drinkwater name in the room because he's a rich guy, and then I can get more funding for my team too by drafting the nephew.
There you go. Sean Drinkwater.
Yeah.
The final pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
First ever team. It's 50% minor leaguers.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bobby Bonds has actually got MVP votes too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll enjoy Bobby Bonds and Mr. Drinkwater. I gotta go, boys.
Bye, Dallas.
Bye.
Again, Santander, that deal is 5 years plus an option, more than $90 million.
That feels like a good get for him at this stage of the offseason, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Bank $90 million. I think I saw it comes with an opt-out after 28 too for him.
Yeah.
That's good work.
Good for him. Yeah. All right. Since Dallas is not here for me to FaceTime, do you guys trust me for the draft order or no?
I do. You wouldn't. I mean, you're way too classy to manipulate at this point. Just lean into it.
I could also take a screenshot and send to you guys if you want.
Not too worried about it.
All right. We will be doing the 1991 MLB draft next week. I don't know who the hidden gem is there. And I'll be generating the draft order in 3, 2, 1. I got second pick. Dallas, Jared, Joey, Justin. I'm gonna screenshot it right now.
Huh.
All right. Well, wait, who got first pick?
Dallas.
Ooh. This is Manny Ramirez's draft.
Oh.
That's not cool.
Nomar is a Havens, so keep an eye out for that one. Don't let that trip you up.
Oh man, I got super excited.
Yeah.
Scott Hadelberg and Israhausen is on this draft. The Moneyball team.
My quick scan of this draft is it's going to be difficult for somebody to overcome a Manny Ramirez's fronted team. But there's interesting players. I would call it marginally more interesting than the one we just did.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Dallas won't complain that he didn't get to see the drawing because he has the first pick.
Nope.
He'll be just fine with this.
Maybe we'll forget to tell him what year.
Yeah, that's true. 1991.
Yep.
MLB Re-Draft coming at you next week. Again, that is Dallas, Jared, Joey, Justin. Okay. That's big time.
Yep.
Shout out to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's Baseball is Dead. Feel like there's a lot of people right now, Dodger haters, they need to seek online therapy. Dallas needs online therapy because I called players pussies. He does not like that. And again, it's the wintertime. It's always tough. You need someone to talk to. So online therapy would be my suggestion to all of you listeners at home. As you always know, Baseball is Dead is sponsored by BetterHelp. Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. In 2025, maybe you're ready for a plot twist, or maybe there's part of your story you've been waiting to revise. Life isn't about resolutions that fade by February. It's about picking up the pen and becoming the author of your own life. Joe, did you have a New Year's resolution this year?
No.
Hell yeah, brother. Think of therapy as your editorial partner, helping you write new chapters and create meaningful stories you deserve to live out. I don't know that I had a New Year's resolution this year.
Mine is to win the Super Bowl.
The Durs win the Super Bowl. Mine is to spend less time on social media. Spend less time there. That doesn't mean you're going to get less from me. It just means I'm going to be like reading my mentions less. Yeah.
It's probably healthy.
That's going to be easy. They banned TikTok. That saves you a lot of time. Because I know you love the TikTok. I
love TikTok. Yeah. That takes up a lot of my time. Twitter takes up a lot of my time. Instagram, not so much. I mean, I don't really read a ton. I mean, I'll read some responses, not a ton. Not a ton. You have like a 3% chance of getting a response in the DMs. I'm not a big DM guy. But yeah, I'd say spending a little less time on social media. Do you count TikTok as social media, Joe, if you're just watching?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I would think that's probably the worst way to spend your time possible. Like,
no, I learned so much from TikTok.
Do you learn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I get like inspiration for different like home techniques and designing, and like you'll learn like world news and stuff. Like I learn a lot on TikTok.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot more brain rot than valuable information, but you have to sift through the brain rot to get to the valuable
information. So hard. The process of sifting alone is brain rot,
Yeah, you're right. But BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable and convenient, serving over 5 million people worldwide. Access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists with a wide range of specialties. Easily switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. Write your story with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/baseball today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball. Oh, is there anything else we wanted to get to today?
I had a quick comment on the Jesse Winker signing, if you guys were inclined to indulge.
Sure, yeah.
The Jesse Winker signing isn't so interesting to me in and of itself, more so for what it probably indicates based on reporting. So this isn't just my conjecture, but Andy Martino was among those who said in the wake of the Winker signing that the Mets have pivoted to Plan B, aka post Alonso. They now consider it the most likely outcome that Alonso will sign elsewhere. They add Winker and will add a reliever, possibly a top one, was his tweet. We'll put the reliever part aside and just focus on the fact that the Winker signing does seem to indicate that the Pete Alonso era is over, which, I think is a little bit disappointing. I still think that Pete Alonso's, for as much as I kind of clown on the home run derby king stuff, like I do feel like his best place was and would be New York. And that if they're serious about trying to compete for a World Series, I do think he would have made them better. But I also understand if the Mets want to build their team with a little bit more flexibility than that, because Winker would seemingly allow kind of like an open competition now at third base if Vientos moves to third or to first among a handful of guys. So I just, some signings are interesting for what they are, but I saw the Winker signing and the reporting associated with it, and it seemed to be interesting for what it portends about the Alonso situation. And now we can kind of open up our thinking as to where Pete Alonso might end up for the 2025 season beyond Queens.
Do you really think that this takes them out of Pete Alonso? Actually,
I don't think it completely closes the door. I think that would be naive because Winker's deal is just like, I think it's 1 and 7.5. But I do think they can credibly pivot from Pete Alonso with the roster flexibility that they have now, even if we're all on the same page that, Jesse Winker is not as good as Pete Alonso, or the combination of, Luis Angel Acuna and, Brett Beatty and, whoever else manning third base competition, that sort of stuff. So I don't think it closes the door. I do think the reporting's correct that it probably meaningfully decreases the chances of it happening, though.
Where do you see a realistic fit if the Mets are not even at the table?
That's why to me, it just seems like, just good business negotiations. Like, we don't need you, Pete. Like, we're not going to overpay your ass because it looks like the market is like, yo, Pete, I don't know the exact number that they reportedly offered him, his extension last offseason, but from what I heard, a lot of people are saying like he fucked up by not taking that. And even the Mets aren't going to match that extension that they offered him a year ago.
So Jared's question about like, where do I or we see fits if it's not outside the Mets? And I think that's its own interesting conundrum and why the Pete Alonso market feels like such a nerve-wracking situation if I'm on the Pete Alonso side, because I'm scanning all 30 teams, and I've obviously thought about this before just this second. But to me, there are 2 teams that stand out as potential fits, and I don't know how appealing either of those would be to Pete Alonso, and that's the Angels and the Mariners. Like, somebody name a team if you can find me somebody else that really truly makes sense and has shown even a passing willingness to spend a decent amount of money on a Pete Alonso type. But I think those are the 2 teams, and like, maybe he can get a lot of money from Seattle or the Angels at this point, but like, from a competitive standpoint, if I'm Pete Alonso, I would have to think that the Angels are an absolute last case scenario given their non-window of contention. And the Mariners is just the place where offense goes to die. So like, if Pete Alonso is interested at all in what his numbers look like, and I'm sure he cares on some level, like, no free agent offensive player wants to go to Seattle first and foremost. Like, we know that. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. It certainly makes the rest of Pete Alonso's free agency maybe a little bit more interesting to the casual fan or to the non-Mets fan, but I don't see a ton of great fits, which was the problem all along.
Yeah, especially now because Santander goes to the Blue Jays.
Yes.
So they're not going to get Pete Alonso. But Pete gets paid more than Santander for sure, right?
But so that's another interesting question. So Santander got 5 and 90, right, with an opt-out. So I think that has to at least shed a little light on what an eventual Pete Alonso market might look like. Like, obviously the $200 million stuff was never happening. Now I think we can credibly say that $150 million is probably not happening. And if he's going to get $100 million, which he might do, and I think he quote unquote deserves more money than Anthony Santander, it's presumably going to be on a 3 or 4 year term, like we've discussed before. And like that conversation from a couple of podcasts ago where we floated our varying levels of comfort with Alonso getting $30 to $35 million. Like, if the Mets aren't in that business, to me, that is completely off the table now too. So this 3 and 100 idea or whatever, Santander just took 5 and 90. Like, that has to cut into Alonso's potential average annual value demands too, right? Like, doesn't 4 and 100 make more sense if you're negotiating with Pete Alonso now from a team side than, a $30 million average annual value? I don't know. It's a sticky situation.
Yeah. The only team I could think of was maybe the Giants. I could add them. I could see them maybe trying to sign Pete Alonso. But I don't know. To me, I still feel like the Mets are the most likely landing spot for Alonso, even with all this, because you got to assume he wants to be in New York, especially now with Soto there. It probably hurts his pride a little bit that they're coming down from the extension, and it doesn't look like they really or acting publicly at least that they want him. They didn't give him what they wanted for an extension for him to take it. Now it looks like he might make even less. So it kind of he's going to have to like swallow his pride. But I mean, from his perspective, who would you rather be, the Mets or the Mariners?
Sure. But if the difference is $75 million in guaranteed money, like that, to the original conversation about taking the most money, like that might be too much to walk away from, or whatever it might, or whatever the figure ends up being. And if I'm Alonso or Bregman, and I'm these free agents who had extended high-level success with the franchises that they came up with, and now those franchises have sort of left me twist in the wind. And I'm not even saying without good reason. I'm not necessarily blaming the teams, but I would have some personal bitterness if I'm one of those two guys about how this free agency has played out. I feel like I think that's probably more true of Bregman, giving all the winning that he did there. But Pete Alonso was the face or the co-face of the Mets for a half decade, basically, since his debut. And it does feel like he's getting squeezed, even if we all, or many of us, predicted that this is exactly what was going to happen to him.
Even the fan base seems that way. Like after the playoffs and Pete Alonso hitting those clutch bombs and we got to sign Alonso, but then once they got Soto, that piped down. Like if they don't re-sign Pete Alonso, Mets fans aren't going to be, rioting in the streets, especially after you just signed Soto. So that's tough for Pete. You got to feel bad for Pete a little bit.
I do. I feel awful for him because like you play 6 seasons there and you're Mr. Met basically. You deliver for them in the biggest spot of their season last year. You deliver for them. And you're kind of you're the de facto captain of the Mets. You're the guy after David Wright. You're the de facto Mets captain. And then you hit free agency. You think you're going to get $200 million. And now you can't even get the Mets to sign you for $3.90. And they go out and they acquire Juan Soto. And it's like, even like the fans have kind of just accepted like, hey, if we don't get Pete Alonso back, at least we got Juan Soto. So who really cares? It's a very odd situation.
It is. And you never know how much of this reporting to trust or what's real and what's leverage and all this noise and all that. But like, I do feel like this is one of those cases where setting an enormously high contract demand at the outset of free agency really might have done a tangible disservice to like how this could have played out, because it does feel like, with the benefit of hindsight, that if the Alonso camp had come in and be like, we're interested, and I'm just making up a number on the fly here, but like, we're interested in a $4 and $120 million deal, like back in November or December. Like, it feels like there's a decent chance that sort of deal gets done, maybe with New York or maybe otherwise. But like coming in and saying you want $200 million, or like halfway through the offseason saying you want the Prince Fielder contract, which everybody knows turned out incredibly poorly for the signing team. Like, what is that strategy exactly? Because now it feels more like he's going to get a 1-year deal, feels more likely to me than $150 million
deal. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Hey, it makes you think, bro, maybe there's some fishy going on with the Boris Corp. Like, could they be like, hey, knowing that the amount of money they give Pete Alonso during the 2024 season, that's money they can't give to Juan Soto. Let's ask for so much that there's no way they sign him, so they have extra money. To my other client, Juan Soto can make the fucking record-breaking richest player of all time.
I think I don't know if you're onto something, but I am fascinated by the interpersonal dynamics of an agency situation like that, where like, so the Boris Corp had Soto, Alonso, and Bregman, among others, but among position players, those 3 guys. And you have, everybody knew Soto was going to be the gem, but Soto gets functionally like $800 million. And these 2 other guys are sitting here on January 20th wondering, am I going to have to take a 1-year deal? Am I going to get $75 million guaranteed? Like, I'm sure they're intelligent enough to understand why Juan Soto was the priority for teams and probably the agency. But if I'm those guys and I've been an MVP-esque or an all-star caliber player, viewing myself worth $200 million, and this is how it's played out, like, how can you not be bitter overall, maybe a little frustrated with your agency or your agent? Like, I don't know. Like while these other guys are getting paid, I just feel like there's got to be tension there, right?
For real. I mean, if Juan Soto went to the Yankees, I will put my life on that Pete Alonso's already signed him with the Mets for probably way more than he's going to sign. So, and then his own agent is the one who prevented that from happening, from getting Soto all that money. So it is crazy.
I'm interested to see how it plays out. I guess I never really considered the 1 year option for Alonso, but I think the later that we go, I mean, we're a week and a half away from February. Like players are going to start showing up to spring training in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
First spring training game is in 1 month.
I mean, he may just have to make the decision. Do I want a 1 year deal with the Mets or do I want a multi-year deal with a team that's both less competitive and probably in a situation that's less appealing to me overall?
Yeah.
A lot of people make that decision.
Yeah. Any final thoughts today, Joseph?
No. See you guys in the Super Bowl. That's really what I'm worried about. Is really the Super Bowl.
Were you sweating yesterday with the TikTok ban?
No, dude. Fuck TikTok.
Yeah, but doesn't it like a lot of your business come from TikTok?
That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll see. I honestly haven't been following that closely with TikTok because I know they banned it. Now it's back. So it's like, are we still making TikToks? Who knows? I guess we'll probably be making a little less TikToks. But, there's still Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. So we'll have to see. It would suck because TikTok does pay money. And you make money from TikTok. And you don't make money on Instagram or YouTube Shorts. Oh, you do make money on YouTube Shorts. But yeah, so hopefully you legalize TikTok. I'm pro TikTok, I think. But if they ban it, you can check us out on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. It's kind of the same shit, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go. Baseball doesn't exist. Check them out. Was that your final thought technically, Jay?
It wasn't. Can I get one more in real fast?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Tomorrow, so before the next time we record, the Hall of Fame announcement will happen. That is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only interesting thing that I have to add is that I think there's a real possibility based on the stuff on Ryan Thibodeau's tracker that Carlos Beltran may really be elected because he's now polling at 80.3% with just under 50% of ballots known. Typically, the final number has shaved some percentage points off of what's found on this site once all ballots are known. But 80% would seem to give him maybe enough of a buffer to withstand the revealing of the public ballots or the remainder of the ballots, which I think is interesting because my assumption this whole time would be that he'd have to wait another year and that this would be a 3-person class with Ichiro, CC, and Wagner. But I obviously think Beltran wholeheartedly deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I'd be very pleased if he got it. But, I'll be tweeting about that, as I'm sure many of us will be tomorrow when the announcement happens. But excited to see, for as much as I complain about it, I can't stop caring about it. So I'm excited to see who gets into the Hall of Fame.
Jake's takes?
Feels like a good night for an Alex Bregman booty call, Jared.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I feel like we gotta do a little check-in, see what's shaking, Because I mean, at this point, it's Bregman and Alonso. Those are the two guys that are left worth of note, like an emergency pod. Profar. Yeah. I feel like that's a different tier, but I had coming off a great year. Jergy.
Breakout year at 30.
Yep. Still counts. But yeah, we one pod this week. We'll be back next week. And if there is a Bregman, Alonso, Jergy, you know what? I'll hop on with you, Joe.
I was just gonna say, if somebody wants to do a Profar emergency pod, I'm so fucking game.
Yeah.
Well, did you see that? There's rumors that the Blue Jays might be in on Scherzer. So
I did see that.
Yeah. That was kind of funny until they signed Santander, but it's kind of like they're still putting their hat in the ring for the big free agents.
They are.
Scherzer's coming to town. I'm actually very curious to see what's going to happen with Kershaw because there is no room for Kershaw on the Dodgers right now.
No,
he's
coming back.
Do you think so?
I think he'll sign a deal like halfway through the season. Like he's not going to retire because the Dodgers have too many pitchers, and he's not going to sign somewhere else. He'll just pick his spot.
So, but he's got to be coming out of the bullpen if he's pitching for the Dodgers.
I think they'll just find starts for him, and his availability will be limited enough where there's no actual friction happening with whether he's starting or not. I don't think he's coming out of the bullpen. I think the workloads are going to be managed on that staff to a degree where Clayton Kershaw can get 10 or 12 starts or whatever it ends up being. Because I think that's going to be the real number. Like, I don't think this is going to be somebody that you need to accommodate for 20 or 25 starts.
They're just make a wish. Doing a make a wish for Clayton Kershaw.
I mean, that is kind of what it feels like, though, right? Like, they've got 9 fully capable starters, and now they have to find starts for Kershaw. I mean, if it were me, I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer, arguably the best pitcher of my generation, and I see the writing on the wall. Like, I don't know. It's a tough spot. You don't just retire because the Dodgers have moved on. Like, if you really think you still have something left in the tank, like, is it crazy that he might sign with another team?
Yes. I think there is a 0% chance that he signs with another team.
Wow.
It seems like if I was his agent, I'd tell him, hey, sign with another team. Because, I mean, he's old, but he's 37. So it's not like I think I can see him being like, it's too early for me to retire. I don't want to retire, but it just doesn't really make, do I want to pitch 10 times this year?
But, okay, so you're talking about his agent. There's no scenario where another team is going to offer him a meaningfully more amount of money than the Dodgers will give him to the point where he's going to uproot his life to go pitch for that other team on like some sort of, I'm returning, because he's not healthy. So, and he's constantly talking about how his body is failing him at this point. Like, I think he's
why doesn't he just retire?
Maybe he will. I think that's the next step. I think if you're asking me, is it more likely that he outright retires or pitches for another team than the Dodgers? I would say wholeheartedly that he retires. I just don't think he's just like a pitcher emeritus now for the Dodgers. And they're just, to your point, it's like taking him along for the ride. And I think if I'm Clayton Kershaw, there is probably a very small percentage of me that is still maybe holding out hope for one final moment, capital M. Because I think he knows that his specific legacy as it relates to postseason performance and the whole bag is a little bit more complicated than he would like. And like, am I misremembering, or is his last meaningful postseason performance that absolute knockout punch that the Diamondbacks delivered?
Yes.
Yep. Yes. So that's his last postseason taste. I would think he wants a different way to go out in his career. And even if he has to be kind of a bit part on an emerging dynasty here, I think that's probably appealing to him on some level.
But that's why I think there's a chance he doesn't stay with the Dodgers. Because if he wants to pitch, and even best case scenario, the Dodgers, he's getting what, 10 starts?
But when I say he wants to pitch and have that capital M moment, I think I'm talking postseason. I don't think there's anything that matters in the regular season for Clayton Kershaw other than using it as a warm-up to maybe be in a position to make a postseason roster. And there's no team, as we've discussed the entire offseason, that gives him a better opportunity to pitch in the postseason at the highest possible levels than the Dodgers.
I don't know. The thing with that, Jay, is that I think there is a pretty good chance that they go to the playoffs, he ain't even on the roster.
I agree with you. I think there is a very good chance that happens.
That's the problem that he's running into.
But I think the chances of that would be pretty decent on any team that he signs up for, given his health status and the amount of innings that he's actually going to throw and be able to prove that he's healthy during the regular season. He made 7 starts last year.
Hey,
7.
He's from Texas. Maybe goes to the Rangers.
I feel like they've sort of done that enough, right? Like the old pitcher stuff. Let's just get DeGrom on the mound. What do we say?
We've been talking about it for years. This is finally the year he's going to the Rangers.
Could be.
DeGrom, Kershaw, Scherzer, all in the Rangers.
Right off into the sunset. Well, we'll be back on Monday, barring any emergency press conferences. And let's see some movement for the Red Sox. That whole segment that we did before we came live here, the top 5 off seasons, it's like, man, I would love to put the Red Sox on this list, but they are an Alex Bregman away. Pick up the phone, Craig. Pick up the fucking phone.
Do it.
We will see you guys next week.
Woo!
All right, Dallas, top 5 most improved teams of the Major League Baseball offseason. Starting at number 5, I went with the Chicago Cubs. And I really struggled with what was going to be my number 5 spot. I think adding Kyle Tucker really just is the difference for me. You go out and you add a Matthew Boyd, a Carson Kelly, that's great. But Kyle Tucker, I feel like, is a singular player that can kind of swing you onto this top 5.
I think my top 5, starting at the very bottom, Jared, with a lot of action going on in these divisions, dare I say, hold the phone, dare I say the Boston Red Sox? Dare I throw the Boston Red Sox out there? You go and get Crochet, right? You go and get Crochet. You sign Buehler. Okay, so there's some question marks. That's fine. But you did lock up a fireballer, an absolute cannon of an arm. Dare I say a gun in Chapman at the back end of your bullpen as well. You've got Patrick Sandoval on the outskirts looking in. So I think when you talk about trying to compete in that division and trying to make a splash, the Boston Red Sox, maybe a little splash, but they're splashing down there. They're in the fifth spot.
The Red Sox are my number 6, but when they sign Alex Bregman, they're going to jump up to my number 3. So they're out of my top 5 right now, but one signing away from being a top 3.
That's fair.
At number 4, I got the Fightins. The Fightin' Phils. I know that there hasn't been a ton of buzz around the Phillies this winter, but you go out and you trade for Jesus Luzardo, a little 1-year sprinkle piece on Jordan Romano. You go out and get Max Kepler. This is a dude who I feel like is super slept on in terms of offseason additions. I like what the Phillies have done. They've gone under the radar. They haven't gotten out and gotten the big fish, but they still land on my top 5.
Jared, that's so close to being exactly where I was going. I battled with this. Is it the Phillies? Is it the Phillies for the reasons you just outlined? Because don't sleep on Romano and what he's capable of. That dude's been an all-star the last 2 out of the 3 years. Kepler adds some left side thump to the lineup, to the equation. There's obviously a lot of upside that comes along with Jesus Luzardo. You factor in Joe Ross as well, a little option down there as far as depth goes in the bullpen. So the Phillies are right there. What I did though is I also thought about a team that is trying to figure things out in a division that seems like it's just getting farther and farther and farther away from them. And I go with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I think when you lock up a guy like Corbin Burnes, you made the move for Josh Naylor to try to supplement the power that you're losing at that corner spot. You added a guy in Seth Martinez who, sure, you look at the numbers towards the back end of his season, towards the latter part of the season, not super sexy, but overall a decent year that you can be okay with. What I think the Diamondbacks needed to do was figure out a way to replace the loss of that thump and try to give themselves something to be excited about. And when you bring home Cy Young Award-winning Corbin Burnes, that's something to get excited about.
See, I debated doing the Diamondbacks, but if I added the Diamondbacks, then I would have had to have added the Red Sox, because it's like, all right, you add Corbin Burnes and that's enough to get you on the list. Well, I think a Garrett Crochet in itself is enough to get you on the list, and the Red Sox still made some other moves, but ultimately I just I weighed Kyle Tucker more heavily than the other two.
And how I've looked at it is, where are you supplementing? And if you're checking multiple boxes, meaning you need help on the mound, you need help like supplying power or supplementing a power loss, are you paying attention to those areas? And are you trying whatever you can to bring yourself back up to level? And for me, understanding what division that the Diamondbacks are in, they can't afford to just stand idly by and do nothing while the Dodgers do what they continue to do, which we'll get to. So that's why for me, it was the Diamondbacks.
At number 3, the New York Yankees. An 8-year deal for Max Fried, one of the best starting pitchers in Major League Baseball over the last half decade. Devin Williams, that trade with the Brewers, some might argue the best reliever in Major League Baseball. You added Cody Bellinger in a trade with the Cubs, and we'll see how that swing kind of plays at Yankee Stadium. A lot of people probably thinking that's going to help him quite a bit. The ghost of Paul Goldschmidt, a 1-year deal at first base. Why not? I mean, it's better than DJ LeMahieu would probably be able to give you. So just, yeah, it's not the offseason that the Yankees intended to have. Obviously, they wanted to have Juan Soto in the fold, but the pivot plan lands them at number 3 on my list.
And we're probably just going to end up flip-flopping 3 and 2. So I will start with my 3, which is the New York Mets. Why the New York Mets? Well, obviously you go out, you land Soto. I don't think anything else needs to be said about what that's going to do for you. But you also lock up the big lefty. Give it a lefty, Sean Manaea. You keep him there. That right there is helping you start to round out this rotation, giving you something that you can latch onto if you're a Mets fan. Singa's going to need some help. You bring in Montas as well. And again, question marks, but you're starting to put bodies in places of those question marks, and they're giving you things to be excited about. You get help out of the bullpen with AJ Minter, Winker, right? So you address bullpen needs, you address rotation needs. Griffin Canning, they traded for Siri, and regardless of what the numbers tell you, I know some of the counting stats not ideal, but believe it or not, Jose Siri even hitting 187, which is absolutely criminal to murder your batting average like that, still was a better player than he was the year before, believe it or not, according to B-War. So that's where the Mets fall for me. 3 at 2, Jared, for me, is the New York Yankees, and it's because of the pivot that they had to make away from Juan Soto. I think a lot of folks could have felt like they were standing left holding the bag and no idea where to go. What are we going to do? That wasn't the New York Yankees. They immediately answered with delivering Max Fried. They immediately answered with Devin Williams and Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger, the guys that you outlined. And for whatever reason, if Cody Bellinger can find the happy medium between 2 years ago and last year, I think you're going to be okay with what you get from Belly, especially yanking him down that right field line. So for me, that's where the New York Yankees end up in that second spot, is the timeliness of their pivot and the depth of their pivot.
And then in the top spot, the reigning, defending, undisputed World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. You've added Snell. You've added Sasaki. You've brought back Teoscar. You just added Scott. You've added Kim. You've added Conforto. You brought back Trinan. What else can you say? I mean, they're outbidding teams for everyone. They're getting players to willingly just come there. It's, cry all you want about the system. The Dodgers are inventing the system. They invented the system. They're breaking the system, and they're changing the game right now with coming off a World Series title and having far and away the best offseason, the most improved team. The best team is the most improved team. Good luck.
It's ridiculous to think that the conversations we're having amongst ourselves online is one where you're defending what everybody's blueprint is when you start, which is if we could win, that would be great, because we could win and then that would help us spend money. So if you want to play the chicken or the egg thing with the Dodgers, it's spend money or it's win, however you want to start there. They've been able to execute those things. So let's start with spending. They've done that. And what followed? Winning. So what follows after that? You've now become a place, a destination that players would like to go to because of their winning window. Great. Now on top of that, you have allowed yourself to corner a market, to corner an international market that not only makes players who want to win want to come there, but it also makes those international players who want to win want to come there. So you're combining all of that. So what the Dodgers have done is what every team would like to do, which is spend money, win championships, create a culture that winning players want to come to and be a part of, even if that means at a discounted price. What the Dodgers have done is hit on every single mechanical cylinder that a front office can, and they have completely left all of their competitors in the dust. You can be bitter about it. You could call me a Dodger dick writer for it. Every one of you listening would love for your team to behave this way to whatever extent they're allowed to do. So for the Dodgers to have won a world championship, identify the best top international free agent and go ahead and nab him at a huge discount, which I told you last time we talked. You could give me 10 million. You could offer me 5 million. If the 5 million is coming from the Dodgers, guess where your boy's going? And it wasn't 5 mil. It was 6.5. And he took that. That's what the Dodgers have done. It's mind-boggling to think that a team that is as powerful as they are is hands down, far and away, the team that got better